Hello, honorable members of the clan. So let's go to the North Gauteng High Court where I don't know what is happening there. You know, we did say that, this 2-week break is definitely going to get some people cooking. And now the broth has been brought before the table and it does not taste good at all. Because here we are, once again, trial by ambush, whichever way one wants to see it. This is a trial by ambush. But then again, it's the nature of unfair trials, where even the judge himself is questioning the defense, which I understand that the state does have right, as the other ones that are actually tabling a case against 5 people to call witnesses. But the manner in which they are calling witnesses and manipulating the system, just because Mr. Mgomezulu made an intention of opposing the application of the current witness that is on the stand right now, Miss Maria Elizabeth Pretorius, who works at some tracker company, coming to testify on the AVL of Longwe Twala's red polo. If you remember very well, Zandile Twala, as well as all the other eyewitnesses, they took the stand, including the neighbors. They said that Longwe Twala was driving a red polo, and that's the red polo now that this Miss Maria is coming to testify on, about the movements of this particular polo. But Mr. Baloyi is focusing on that what was said by Mr. Mgomezulu on the 28th of August 2024, when he was basically informing Colonel Mangena that on the night of Senzo's death, this is what had transpired. There were 3 gunshots that were fired. One of the bullet hit Zandile on the, on the leg. The other bullet hit Longwe Twala, basically shooting him in the ankle. And the last bullet is the one that shot and killed Senzo Meyiwa. And apparently Longwe Twala was then, he drove to Dr. Mudisa's surgery to have the bullet removed. That is after it became septic, allegedly. So now he says that this entire process that they are having to call this witness, Maria Elizabeth Pretorius, is to testify on the AVL of the red polo. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, but wait a minute. Longwe Twala, while he has shot himself in the foot, and then probably call somebody, I'm assuming the parent, hey, I just did something. This is allegation. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just using a hypothetical story here. You shoot yourself in the foot and you know you are in trouble, and you know that this person is deceased. And the first thing that you're going to do after having shot yourself in the ankle, you are going to drive straight to the doctor, or you are going to call somebody that you love and you know they also love you. Will say, listen, drive straight home. We will drive you with a different car to the doctor. Now, the question I'm asking right now is, why not the AVL of Chico Twala? Why not the AVL of Longwe Twala's mother? Why not the AVL of Longwe's little brother? You know, that entire family, get their AVLs as well, because Longwe could have driven straight home and then they changed cars to go to the doctor, because allegedly when they got to the doctor, it was not in Longwe's name that was registered to see the doctor, but Silo Twala the Junior. Allegedly, that was name that was written down. So what makes us think that this red polo did actually travel to the doctor, just like the state said with the cell phone records that was read by Pinky, that even Judge Rata himself is like, well, somebody else might be using the cell phone while he was in Fosleras shooting and killing Senzo Meyiwa. So why shouldn't we think the same line as well about this red polo, that maybe on that particular day it went and from Fosleras drove straight home? Because I think it's going to show that he drove from Fosleras on the 26th of October 2014 straight home. Now when he got home, what car or whose car was used to get to the doctor? That's the AVL that we need. And secondly, which is something also a little bit confusing for me, if the AVL of 10 years ago, this tracker company still has, why then MTN still deletes information of the past 5 years? The records of the past. I don't understand that part, because I would assume that they have the same amount of load of information that MTN may have as well, and they still have 10-year-old records. That is very funny to me. But anyways, we are not there now. I just want I'm quickly going through this because we are going back to court now. Geninda, who was supposed to be on the stand telling us about whether it's going to be fair or unfair for him to be testifying while he is also writing his final exams. And then came Mr. Baloyi, says, oh, by the way, the tracker that we were tracking yesterday, we finally found her. And yet he's the one who submitted to court yesterday that they cannot find the tracker. And as a result, Geninda was going to take the stand. But he says, no, he did not. Anyways, that's Baloyi and that court. But then I want to read some of the things that I've written down in notes as to what also transpired in court. So, of course, Mr. Baloyi introduced a new witness by the name of Maria Elizabeth Pretorius. And Mngomezulu, of course, stood up to request the basis for introducing this witness based on which evidence. The vehicle alleged to have been driven by Longwe Twala. State stated that they are not going to call Longwe Twala. State does not want to advance the basis of why Longwe Twala isn't going to be called. There is no evidence that this vehicle was indeed driven by Longwe Twala, which I also agree. Ramasipili also stood up and said state needs to be honest with the defense. We were told yesterday that this lady was no longer coming and moved to call Brigadier Geninda. We are here to hear about Geninda and his availability since he is writing final exams. All defense agreed on this, that they are here today to hear Brigadier Geninda if he will be available for cross-examination while he is writing final exams. Baloyi then stood up and said it's incorrect to say that they were no longer going to call the witness. They didn't say that, he says. State intends to call the witness with these heads of argument. So he prepared heads of argument, and he is saying that the reason why he prepared heads of argument is because of Mr. Mngomezulu, who said that they intend to oppose the calling of this particular witness. Mnisi also stood up and said this is an ambush. I agree 100%. We don't know what the heads of arguments are about because the process, as I understand it, the state will prepare some document or whatever it is, whether it's heads of arguments or new evidence or a list of witnesses, and then submit those to the defense so that the defense has ample time to also prepare heads of argument for this sake and also come and respond to the heads of argument of the state. But they were not prepared. But Mr. Baloyi says, no, well, that's because Mr. Mngomezulu said he intends on opposing the calling of this witness, so they prepared their heads of argument. And I was like, okay, that's very interesting. Then Baloyi says we can't, then Baloyi very firmly says the defense cannot stop the state in advancing why this witness can be called. We are responding to Mr. Mngomezulu, and these heads of arguments are responding to that. Mr. Mngomezulu indicated that he intends to oppose the calling of the witness. The judge then said, can the state be stopped to call witnesses? Okay, of course, he's showing that, yeah, he kind of like agrees with the state, which I think, of course, the state can call the witnesses if it wants to. Mr. Mnisi then makes an argument that I could not quite record, but it was a good argument about fairness. And the funny part or the ironic part about this is that Mr. Baloyi quoted Art versus Hapworth. And but on the manipulative side about a trial, and the presiding officer doing all that nonsense that is said in there, but at the same time he is not following the processes of a fair trial, which is quite ironic, I thought. Mr. Mngomezulu then says what puzzles him is that they had an informal conversation. Mr. Baloyi should have submitted his heads before making it in court. Judge then says, how long do you guys need? It's only 6 paragraphs of these heads of argument. Baloyi then stood up and said it was not a private conversation. Now, basically, he is rebutting what Mr. Mngomezulu says, that it was not a private conversation. He had put it on record that he will oppose the application for the witness to be called. I request that I request that we continue to advance the reasons why they are calling this witness. Just said, can we go, then he say, can we go on then? Then Baloyi wanted to say something, but Mr. Mngomezulu stood up and said, well, he will oppose. Oh yeah, this is when Mr. Baloyi started his heads of argument on the basis of number one, Mngomezulu opposing the witness taking the stand. Then number two, going on the background of this application. Number three, he quotes a record of the 28th of August 2024 on Colonel Mangena. That was Mr. Mngomezulu basically letting him know that Longo Twala actually shot himself in the foot or in the ankle and went to the doctor because his wound was getting septic, and the wound was, the bullet was removed by Dr. Mudise or something like that. Number four, then he reads the records about Zandile, Tumelo, Madlala, and all the other ones basically testifying about a red polo. I see that we are back in the court. I'll be back with you guys. I'm so sorry. Goodbye.